which means, and similarly, meaning both cases are exactly parallel. So if in the Seifa case, I have to sell all of them because I'm choshed, so in the first case, I also have to be concerned. So I don't know for sure, just because you said shor b'shavre, that it automatically means the biggest one. No, so Targuma Agadol. No, when you're right, it says v'chein, and therefore they're both similar. How are they both similar? They're both similar in the practical application. Practically, you end up bringing the biggest animal in both cases. Both cases, you bring the biggest ox. You get there through different ways. In the first case, you get there because we know for sure you meant the biggest ox when you said shor b'shavre. In the second case, you get there through this methodology of selling the balance of them to people who need to bring olas, and you taking the biggest one and bringing as your olah, because there is a suffix, but so they're similar in that both cases you bring the biggest one as a korban olah. But at this point we are still good with the idea that Rav Nachman taught us that if you use this double lashon of shor b'shavre, it really means your most prominent animal, because a person, when he uses that lashon, it means he's talking about his best quality one. Now we're going to challenge this idea again. Meisvei, beis beveis, Mari Nafal. So I can say, that's the one you bought, buddy. I get to say, that's the worst one. Aved ba'avde ani mocher lecha. I'm selling you one of my slaves. Aved ba'avde, I'm selling you a slave of my slaves. Double lashon, I'm selling you. Umeis, and then it dies. Mari meis. I can show you the Eved that died. Va'mai lechsi hedayin nafal hedayin meis. Why? You said a double lashon. We should have to investigate which is the biggest one in your property and give him that one, because we know when a person uses the double lashon, he is meaning to give his best quality one. So we should look for the best quality slave. If it happens to be the one that fell, fine. If it happens to be the one that died, fine. And we should look for his best quality house. If that happens to be the best quality one that collapsed, then so be it. But you shouldn't automatically be able to give him your worst quality house because you used the double lashon. Lokeach kamrat amrat. Are you asking me from the case of a mekach umemkar, from a person doing commerce, with his friend? Shiny lokeach. It's different in the case of lokeach. The yad bal shtar al tachtona. Why? Because this is like the idea we said last week, that when it comes to hektish, it's different than regular mekach umemkar, right? Regular mekach umemkar, the person with the document has the lower hand. What does that mean? We say hamotzi mechavero olav haraya. It's upon me. You have a document, and I have the house. You got to prove that the house is really yours because I have possession of the house. So we say that when it comes to human versus human. But like we said last week, we don't say that when it comes to human versus Hashem. So you can't bring me. So the fact that he was able to say he gave not with a generous eye when it came to a case of man versus man, you can't then tell me when he made a neder it was the same thing. It's very different. It's apples and oranges. So hashta da asis lahachi afil tema aliyah degriya yabal shtar al tachtona. So now that you gave me this answer that you can't compare hegdish to mekach umemkar, you can't compare hegdish to a regular business transaction between two people, why did you give me an answer before that when he said the top apartment, it really meant his choices apartment? You should have just said one is hegdish and one is dinim momonos between people. So the Gemara agrees that you could have said that as well. Okay, next Mishnah, new topic. We're now kind of, we're still in the world of neders, but we're going to also kind of transition to the world of Avodah Zarah. Okay, just a tiny bit of an introduction. We're going to learn about this idea of a Beis Hamikdash of Chonyo. Chonyo, we're going to learn on Amud Beis of the staff, was the son of Shimon Shimon HaTzadik, who was the Kohen Gadol, who served for many years, and then when he died, he appointed his son Chonyo to be the Kohen Gadol, and then for whatever reason, we'll see later on, there's a difference of opinions, Chonyo ended up leaving Eretz Yisrael and fleeing to Alexandria, Egypt, and he set up a replica of the Beis Hamikdash. He set up a house of worship, a house of offering in Egypt, which he ended up bringing korbanos. So it's basically like a bama. So it's an idea that it's a bama when there's a Beis Hamikdash standing, and we know when there's a bama, when there's a Beis Hamikdash standing, you're not allowed to bring the animal to a bama. You always have to bring it to the Beis Hamikdash. Bamas were only for when the Beis Hamikdash was not in existence, or post.
When he built it, I'm sorry, I forgot. When he built it, wasn't it Mikdash or was not a Mikdash?
There was. It says here.
There was a Beis Mikdash. Basically, he was supposed to be the Kohen in the Beis Mikdash. He left while the Beis Mikdash was intact, and he ended up building this Bama in Egypt. But it wouldn't have mattered, because as we learned in, I think it was the Sechus Avodah Zarah, that the, I don't remember where it was, maybe it was Vachim, that the Kedusha lasts, after the Beis Mikdash was destroyed, there's still Kedusha, you can't do Bamos anymore. So, but either way, so we're going to talk about, if a person said he's going to bring someone to the Beis Chonyo, what it really means is if he basically said he's going to do a Bama instead of the Beis Mikdash. So, Harei Alai Ola. A person says, I'm going to bring an Ola. What does that mean? So, Yakrivin Mikdash. So he should end up offering the Ola in the Beis Mikdash, right? Seems obvious. Vim Hikrim Beis Chonyo Lo Yotze. And if he brings it to a Beis Chonyo or a Bama, he brings it somewhere that's not the Beis Mikdash, he's not Yotze. So that's very obvious. We're doing this all for the next case. Harei Alai Ola Shakrivina Beis Chonyo. I'm taking an eder to bring an Ola in the Beis Chonyo. So that's kind of a problematic statement, because you're not really supposed to bring the offering in the Beis Chonyo. You're supposed to bring it in the Beis Mikdash. So Yakrivena b'Mikdash. So you bring it in the Beis Mikdash. The im hekriva Beis Chonyo. But if you do bring it to the Beis Chonyo, you do bring it on a private bama, yatsa. So the Gemara is going to explain why that works. That's obviously very challenging for us to understand. How is he?
Yatsa is nether, but not yatsa the ola.
Something like that. So.
How this doesn't work?
But
if Beit Chonyo was Isur, when he did the neder,
it shouldn't have been chal.
It's not neder. It's not mechuyah.
Right. I totally agree. So we're going to dig into this with the Gemara, and it's going to basically, we're going to have to understand what he really meant by saying, I'm going to bring it in the Beis Chonyo. You're right. If it for sure meant he's going to bring it as a proper illegal sacrifice, then the neder should never be chal, because it's against the Torah. Rabbi Shimon Amar ein zo'ola, and like you guys are both saying, Rabbi Shimon says it's not an ola, right? Like Izzy's saying, you didn't sanctify anything if you said you're going to bring it to Beis Chonyo, and this is similar to, we learned, it was actually a week ago today, we learned the case in the Mishnah regarding if a person makes a neder and says, I'm going to bring a mincha of barley, and we know you can only bring a voluntary mincha of flour. So Rav Shimon said, we look at the whole statement and we say it's ridiculous. You didn't say anything. But the Tanna Kama over there said, we don't throw out the whole statement necessarily. So too over here. The Tanna Kama is not throwing out the whole statement. It's not exactly the same from the Tanna Kama's perspective, but from Rav Shimon's perspective, it's not surprising to us because it's Rabbi Shimon Lishi Taso, that if you're saying something ridiculousness, we just ignore you. Okay. Hareini, now similar case. Hareini Nazar Yiglach b'Mikdash. I am a Nazar, and Hareini Nazar. I'm a Nazar. So Yiglach b'Mikdash. So he has to shave his head in the Beis Mikdash. When we say shave his head, we're not just referring to shave his head. We're saying he has to bring the 3 offerings that he brings at the end of his Naziris in the Beis Mikdash. And then the reason it says shaving his head is we know he shaves his head there and he throws the hair under the Korban Shlamim while it's burning. V'im gilach hareini nazar yiglach b'medrash. V'im gilach b'veit chonya lo v'im gilach b'veit chonya lo yotzer. And if for some reason he didn't shave his head and bring his korbanos in the Beis Mikdash, he did it somewhere else, so then he's not yotzei, obviously. However, hareini nazar she'aglach b'veit chonya, but he says I'm a nazar to bring my korbanos and shave my head in the Beis Chonyo, yiglach b'mikdash. He should bring his korbanos and shave his head in the Beis Mikdash. V'im gilach b'Beis Chonyo yatsa. However, if he does it by the bama, he's yatsa. Rav Shimon Amar ein zeh nazar. Same idea. It's complete foolishness. He didn't do anything. Right. No, so Izzy, we're going to get to the Gemara. It's the first question of the Gemara. Yatsa.
You were still a Nazir. You don't need to have the temple to declare a Nazir, right? Nazir.
You could be a Nazir. So, well, according to Rav Shimon, we know Rav Shimon looks at the full statement. So you're right. You said Hareini Nazir, but you qualified it with saying I'm a Nazir who's going to shave his head and bring the offerings of a Beis Chonyo, of a bama. So you're saying something contradictory. There is no such Nazir. There's no such thing as being a Nazir who's going to bring his offerings to a bama. It doesn't exist. So they throw out. So if Shimon says, you didn't say anything. You said ridiculousness. The Chachamim say, you said something. You said, I'm going to be a Nazir. What we do with that other statement you said, we have to understand that. But you said you're going to be a Nazir. That is part of the machlokas over here. Okay. Yatsa. So in both case in the case of the Ola, if you said I am bringing a korban Ola to be brought in a Beis Chonya, you're supposed to bring it to the Beis Mikdash. But if you bring it to the Beis Chonya, you're Yotzei. How are you Yotzei? What'd you do? You ended up killing an animal out of the Beis Mikdash. So if you kill an animal out of the Beis Mikdash, you're just killing an animal. It's not shechita anymore, right? You're just killing an animal. The only way shechita occurs is in the Beis Mikdash. So what are you Yotzei?
Prior to the temple, that would have been okay, right?
If you had a bama. Yeah. There were periods of times where we learned at the end of Zvachim, there were periods of time that you had bamas and it's okay. There were public bamas and private bamas.
Would have been essentially, right?
Yes, but we're talking about where the Beis Mikdash was standing.
Right.
So that's what's so challenging. So when Gemara says you're Yotzei, your nether, and you said you're going to bring an Ola, but you ended up slaughtering regular meat. You just killed an animal. How's that an Ola? So Amar Rav Hamnuna, Nasek Omer, Hare Alai Ola, Almanas, Shelo Ischayav Bachruisa. So he tells us, this is kind of a new idea, or certainly for me it's a new idea, it's a hard idea, that when he said this statement of Hare Alai Ola, but they qualified it with it's a type of oil that I'm going to bring into a base chonyo. What he's saying is, I really don't want to. I may not be able to go all the way to Yerushalayim and bring this as a korban. So it's an ola, but I'm not fully responsible for it. It's on me to bring an ola. But if for some reason this ola gets killed, even if it gets killed by my own hand, I've fulfilled my neder. It's an ola to the extent that as long as it's in shape to be brought, I have to bring it to the Beis Mikdash. But if it's no longer in my power if it's no longer alive, I'm not responsible then to replace it. That's what it means when he's using this weird lashon of Beis Chonya. He's basically saying, I'm taking not full responsibility for this korban. So hard idea, but that's what he's saying according to Rav Hamnuna. So if that's true, if you're telling me that it's this kind of weird case where he's making it a real ola, and as long as it's an ola, he has to bring it to the Beis Mikdash and he has to sanctify it. But let's just speak that one second. But then if he doesn't make it there, it's not that he's yotzei his neder. It's that the neder doesn't come back, because I only took a neder to the extent that as long as the animal's alive, I have to bring it to the court. I have to bring it to the Beis Mikdash. But if it doesn't get there, I'm not mechayev to then go do a replacement. So that's the way Rav Hamnuna is explaining it. So Rav has a problem with that. Amar le Rava, Elameata seif diktani hareini nazir she'aglach b'veitz chonyoni yiglach b'mikdash ve'im gilach b'veitz chonya yotzei hachinami denaseb ka'omer hareini nazir al manashe lo eschaya ba'achriyas karbanoso. We should say the same thing. Nazir kama de lo maisi karbanoso lo miskasher. So you said to me that it's kind of this. It's an ola, but it's not an ola that if I don't bring, I then have to go complete to go complete it. My neder is only binding as long as there's an ola, but once there's no ola, my neder doesn't come back. If you say the same thing by the case of nazir, how does it work? He's going to end up being a nazir forever. If we say that he said I'm a nazir of shaving my head by Beis Chanyo, and then we said he ends up doing it in the Beis Chanyo. He's yotzei. What do you mean? You never brought the korbans that allow you to eat. In order to end your naziris and then be able to drink wine, you have to ultimately bring the 3 korbanos in the Beis Mikdash. You didn't do it. So in the first case of an ola, it's okay that we're just saying that the neder doesn't come back on you. But in the case of nazir, if the neder doesn't come back on you, you still didn't complete. If you're yotzei, it implies that you could drink wine. You're not yotzei to the point where you can drink wine, so the logic you're saying can't be true. It only works in the case of ola. It doesn't work where there's a practical ramification whether you bring the korban correctly or not. So it can't be what you're saying, that it works to sanctify as an ola, but it doesn't work to the extent where I'm responsible to then complete it if something goes amiss, even if I cause it. So Ella Amarava, what's the case? What are we talking about? Adam zel doras niskavim. Rather, a person is just he's It's Ladoron. It's a gift. He has in mind. It's not a real Ola. It's not a real Naziris. It's just a gift to Hashem. Amar Isa that I only want to have responsibility to bring it privately. I don't want to be bothered that I have to bring it all the way to Eretz Yisrael, this Korban Ola. And Nazir Nami, Hi Gavra, Latsuri Nafshe Kamechavin. I just have in mind to cause myself a little affliction. I'm an ascetic. I'm like, one of these people who thinks it's good to cause pain to myself for the sake of Hashem. Amar Isaac and Veschonia Turchana. And it's enough for me that I'm going to batriach myself to bring the offerings at the end that are similar to a Nazir, on a bama. I'm not going to do it to the extent where it's a full-fledged korban, right? So according to Rava, it comes out he's not really saying it's not a neder of hegdesh. It's a neder of bringing something that's kind of like an ola. It's a gift to Hashem, and that's why if I then bring the gift in a different locale, when I said my original gift could be brought in a different locale, I'm yotze. Not ideal, but so then just to speak it out though, if we're saying it's just a gift, how does he end up bringing it to the korban and having it work? It really wasn't hegdish, right? It's just a gift according to Rava. So what you have to say is that the actions end up defining what he said. That he basically said it in a way that if I ended up bringing it to the Beis Chonya, so then I really meant it as a gift the whole entire time. And if I ended up bringing it all the way to the Beis Hamikdash, I meant it as hegdish the whole time. And you're only going to know when you see my actions. So that's so.
If you bring it to Chonya, it means nothing. I mean, what do you mean it's a gift?
It's a gift. It's a gift. To Hashem. I'm creating my own type of gift to Hashem. I'm saying I'm gonna kill an animal for the sake of Hashem. I'm drawing this beautiful picture for Hashem.
It's not correct.
Right, it's not correct.
It's not correct.
You're creating your own Torah.
Correct, you said. Correct.
It's not. It's not punishable by correct.
It's not punishable by correct.
It's like you did a barbecue.
Right. You didn't do anything super meaningful, but maybe you did it yourself. It's nadava. It's you're doing your
So
own.
it's not even a batala? It's not.
Slaughtered an animal.
No, you're allowed to take a net and say I'm going to kill an animal for the sake of Hashem. But I think what Almog's saying is the distinguishing trait is normally if you end up slaughtering, if you say this is an ola and then you slaughter it outside the Beis Hamikdash, you're going to have kares. Here, there's no karet.
Is it like bli neder?
It's not bli neder because you have a neder that's binding, but the object but you use the wrong terminology. When you said ola, we're not really saying you really meant an ola. You meant something like an ola, according to Rava. All right, let's keep moving just because we got to cover some ground. Rav Hamnuna Amar Lacha. Nazir Kitimarta. So Rav Nuna agrees. He goes, "You're right. That's a good kasha from Nazir. So it must be like you're saying. It's not a full-fledged. It's not really a full. It's not a full-fledged declaration of Naziros when it comes to Nazir. Because you're right. It would be possible then to remove the Naziros. However, Ola Amana Shalo Eschaya Bachris Kamar. However, I'm standing by my logic that Ola really is this. It is a component of an Ola that gets removed that you're not responsible to bring back if you end up bringing it to the Beis Chonya. V'af Rabbi Yochanan Savarla Lahad Rav Hamnuna. And Rabbi Yochanan also holds like Rav Hamnuna. D'Amar Rabbi Baruch Hana Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Harei Alai Ola Sha'akrivina Beis Chonya. If I say I'm going to bring an Ola to the Beis Chonya, the Hikriv Eretz Yisrael, and then I offered it in Eretz Yisrael, but not in the Beis Hamikdash, not in Yerushalayim. Yatzev Anash Karetz. Then I have completed my neder, and it doesn't come back on me. However, I do get kares, like Rav Hamnuna. It really is an ola, so I get kares because I brought an ola outside the Beis Hamikdash. However, my neder does. I absolve myself from my neder. I didn't complete my neder. I absolve myself from my neder. Tanya nami hachi. And there's a brisa like Rav Hamnuna and Rav Yochanan. Harei alai ola she'akrivina b'midbar. I am taking upon myself to bring an ola in the midbar, right? That's not in the Beis Hamikdash. V'hakriva be'ever hayardein, and then I offered it in the ever hayardein. Yatzav anash kares. So I've discharged my neder. I'm absolved. Anash kar, but I am chayav kares. So like Rav Hamnuna, not Rava. Okay, next Mishnah. HaKohanim shimshu b'veit Chonya. The Kohanim who actually did the service in the temple of Chonya in Egypt, right? So they did it either in a bama, or I think it sounds like we're talking about it was still it wasn't a beit avodah zarah. Hakonim sheshimshu b'veit Chonya lo yishamshu b'mikdash Yerushalayim. so then they can't serve in the Beis Hamikdash of Yerushalayim, right? If they ended up serving in Beis Chonyo, which was a bama at the same time of the Beis Hamikdash, then they are puzzle from serving in or they shouldn't serve in the Beis Hamikdash in Yerushalayim.
Is that like a without Zara?
It's machlokas whether the Beis Chonyo, we're going to see it's machlokas whether the Beis Chonyo was a place of avodah zarah, or rather it was just a place for Hashem, but it was outside of the Beis Hamikdash. It's machlokas. But I think the way this Mishnah reads, it's talking about where it was a mikdash for Hashem outside of Yerushalayim. The ein tzarich lomar l'davar acher, and this is why, because you don't have to tell me that certainly if he would do actual avodah zarah, if he would serve in a base of avodah zarah, then he's for sure disqualified from serving in the Beis Hamikdash. How do I know this? Because it says in Malachim, Shnei Ach lo yalu kohanei habamos el mizbeach Hashem b'Yerushalayim. But the kohanim of the bamas were not permitted to ascend to the altar of Hashem in Yerushalayim. Right? If you served in a bama, you can't then do the service in Yerushalayim. Ki im achlu matzos b'toch hachayim. Rather, they weren't puzzled completely. They would still be able to eat the matzos of that their brothers would be able to eat. They would still be able to eat the kohen portion. They just wouldn't be able to do the service. Harei alai kabali mumim. These kohanim are like bali mumim. Cholkin va'ochlin. They get their portion and they get to eat it v'lo makrivin, and they can't bring the offering. They can't do the service. So there's still a level of sanctity that they get to participate, but they can't do the service if they would do service in a base kohenyo, and certainly if they would do it in a base of avodah zarah. Amar Rav Yehuda, kohen sheshachat lavoda kochavim, korbano reach nichoach. What if a kohen ended up? We said that if a kohen does actual avoda in a base of avodah zarah, he's puzzle from serving in the Beis Hamikdash. What if he just does shchita? Right? Because shchita, we learned in Zvachim, is not a full service. It's not a service in the sense that everything else is a service, because even a Yisrael can do it. So it's not classified the same way. So Rabbi Yehuda tells us, even though normally an avoda of Beis Hamikdash, and this is all assuming you did tshuva, you would then be able to do you would not be able to do the service in the Beis Hamikdash. However, if you would just do shchita, you would still be able to do servitude in the Beis Hamikdash. Amar V'Chabar of Dimi, Mikra, how do I know that you could still do a service in the Beis Hamikdash if you did shchita of avodah zarah, but you didn't do a full-fledged avodah, like like throwing the blood or burning the fat? Yan asher yishartu osam lefnei glulehem v'hayu leveis Yisrael lemichshol avon al kol al kein nasati yadai alem nu Hashem elokim v'nasu avonim. Because the Kohanim served for the people before their idols, and they were a stumbling and iniquity for the house of Israel. Therefore I have raised my hand against them, the word of the Lord, Hashem Elokim, and they shall bear their iniquity. And then the next pasuk it says, they shall not approach me to serve me. If they performed what's defined as a service, they are puzzled from them bringing it from them doing the service in the Beis Hamikdash. Shrita lav sheresu, right? Because this pasuk says it's specifically a service, not shrita, that would puzzle them. Itmar shagag b'zrika. Okay, what happens if you made a mistake with zrika? Zrika is a full-fledged service. That's really mamish avoda. Mm-hmm. So Rav Nachman Amar korbano reich nichoach. No, it's okay if you did zrika b'shogeg, but then you did tshuva, then you could then bring an offering in the Beis Hamikdash and reach nichoach. It's a pleasing offering to Hashem. Rav Sheshes Amar ein korbano reich nichoach. No, if you did it by even if you did it by accident, for sure if you did it on purpose and you did tshuva, you can't serve in the Beis Hamikdash. But because it's a real full-fledged service, even if you do by accident, according to Rav Sheshes, you can't serve then in the Beis Hamikdash. I think we just have to point out before we continue real quickly that the lashon they're both using is reich nichoach. We're not using kosher and puzzle, right? Which is really the normative lines here. So basically, as we read this whole sugya, we're going to keep using this lashon of reich nichoach. There's two mahalachs. One mahalach is that reich nichoach is just another way of saying kosher and puzzle, and Rav Sheshes is saying for sure you're puzzle, and Rav Nachman is saying you're kosher. And then the other way says no. Otherwise, it would say kosher and puzzle. By the fact that it's using this, it's talking about bidyavid and lechatchila. Really, no matter what, it's kosher. It's just that which is desirable. So Basin's not going to let the guy do it because it's not appropriate. But it would ultimately work. So just keep that in mind. As we see the sugya, it can go both ways, or there's opinions that say both. Okay, Amar Rav Sheshes. Why does Rav Sheshes hold that if you would do an avoda, specifically the zrika, the shoge, you would still, and then you the tshuva, you would still be usher, you would still, the offering you would bring in the base of Midrash would not be ideal. Because where do I say this? How do I know this? Because it says in the pasuk we just quoted that it says Mikshol and Avon. It uses the double lashon of Mikshol. My lav o Mikshol o Avon. Why did it say either a Mikshol or an Avon? Umikshol shogig v'Avon mezid. That whether you do a service b'shogig accidentally, or if you sit and do the service b'mezid intentionally. So, and what did the next pasuk say? Then they shouldn't serve, or the next part of the pasuk said, then you shouldn't then serve me in my migdash. That's what Hashem tells you. So it sounds like a very good proof according to Rav Sheshes. The pasuk says if you do the service either by accident or on purpose, then you are disqualified from serving in the Beis Hamikdash. So that's why Rav Sheshes knows it. What about Rav Nachman? What does he do with this pasuk? Mikshol the avon. No, it's one concept. If you mikshol, if you make a mistake, the avon, by doing a sin. So he understands that only if you would do avoda on purpose in a base avoda zara, then would you be possible. But if you would do the avoda by mistake, then it's okay if you then do service in the base of Mikdash. Amar Rav Nachman, Menamila, how do I know that's the right way to interpret the pasuk, and that if you do it by mistake, you're still kosher to serve in the base of Mikdash? The Tanya v'chiper hakohen ala nefesh hashoges b'chates b'shkaga. The pasuk says the kohen in Bamidbar says the kohen shall atone for the erring soul for its sin of error. This teaches us that a kohen can atone for himself. B'mai, what does he have to atone for himself? If you're going to say that he's atoning for himself, that he did a shchita of avodah zarah, my area is shogeg. Why do we have to discuss a shogeg? Like we said earlier, afilo mezanami. Even if you do a shchita on purpose, because it's not a full-fledged service, if you do tshuva, you can ultimately serve in the Beis Hamikdash. So it can't be talking about shchita. Elalav b'zrika. Rather, what are we talking about in Sefer Bamidbar? We're talking about where a person did a zrika accidentally. He has the right to atone for himself and then serve in the Beis Hamikdash. No, that pasuk is actually talking about shchita. And I hold that even if you do shchita on purpose, even if you do and that basically if you do shchita by accident, you can still serve in the Beis Hamikdash. But shchita on purpose, I hold you are you are puzzled from doing service in the Beis Hamikdash. Why? We know you have to be service, and shchita is not a full-fledged service. Because he says you're acting like a pagan priest, and if you're acting like a kohen of avodah zarah, then that's enough to disqualify you from serving the Beis Hamikdash, even though you weren't violating doing another service, like the pasuk above said. And they're both going according to Lishita. So, but basically, what we're saying is that Rav Nachman is always going to be, we're about to do a series of cases where Rav Nachman is always lakula when it comes to a person who did avodah zarah and then wants to do service in the Beis Hamikdash, and Rav Sheshes is always machmer in all these different circumstances. So they're speaking lishitaso. Okay, what's Vaz Dula Tamayo and Rav Nachman and Rav Sheshes are both going according to their shitas. Why? The Idmar Hezi b'shchita, if a kohen acted deliberately in regard to shchita, Rav Nachman Amar Korban Oreich Tekok. It's okay if he then brings an offering to the Beis Hamikdash. It's Reich Tekok. It still pleases Hashem. Rav Sheshes Amar ain't Korban Oreich Tekok. Rav Nachman Amar Korban Oreich Tekok. It is okay. Why? Delo Avid Sheris, because he didn't perform an actual service. Rav Sheshes Amar ain't Korban Oreich Tekok. Naseh Misharis Lavod Zar Letochavim, because he acted like a priest. Amar Rav Nachman. What's Rav Nachman's proof? Menamina. How do I know that even shchita disqualifies the Tanya? I mean, how do I know that shchita does not disqualify? The Tanya Kohen she'aved avodas kochavim b'shav, because there's a brisa that says a Kohen that does a service in avodah zarah and then repents, v'shuv, he repents, korbano re'ech nichoach. So his korban is reach nechoach. We see if he does it, if he does a service and then he repents, his korban nechoach. But what's the case? Elaim b'shogeg. If you're going to tell me it's b'shogeg, my v'shav. What do you mean he repented? Shav ovidu. He never had to repent the whole entire time. He was in a process of repentance because he felt bad the whole time. He never did it intentionally. Ela pshit b'mezid. Rather, we're talking about a case where he did it intentionally. The ibis rika kishav my hobby. And if it was rika and it was a full-fledged service, would repenting make a difference? Would he still then be able to do the service in the mikdash? No, we know the pasuk told us if you do service, you're disqualified. So ela la b'shchita. Rather, this brisa must be telling me that it's talking about shchita, and you can still see that you do repentance, even if it's on purpose. So Rav Nachman has a proof from a brisa. For Rav Shesha would say that brisa is not a problem. Why? That whole brisa is talking about b'shogeg. It says he did tshuva. Im shave mikara. If from the beginning you were repentant, meaning the whole entire time, the whole thing was an accident. That when he performed the avodah, he did the whole thing as an accident. The whole entire time he was repenting. But if he did it intentionally, he would not be able to then serve in the Beis Hamikdash. If a kohen bowed down to avodah zara, so what's the case? He then did tshuva. Can he then serve in the Beis Hamikdash? That's not considered a full service. Rav Nachman amar korbano reich nechoach. Rav Sheshes amar ain't korbano reich nechoach. No, then even though it's just bowing down, Rav Sheshes would still disqualify. If a person just verbally said, "This is my God, this pagan God," Rav Nachman amar korbano reich nechoach, then the Kohen's offering in the Beis Hamikdash is still good if he did tshuva. Rav Sheshes amar ain't korbano reich nechoach. Utzricha, and we had to list all these cases. Why did we have to list these? We could have just said Rav Nachman's always a kula, and Rav Sheshes is always a machmir. Diashmin and hachmais. If I only told you the first case where they disputed accidental blood throwing, bahi kamar Rav Sheshes mishum dava leishero. No, Rav Sheshes holds that you're apostle there because he did a full-fledged service. But shchita, which is not a full service, I would say maybe he agrees with Rav Nachman. And if I would teach you shchita mishum da'avad le'avoda, because even though it's not a full service, it's still a service. You're doing an action. But regarding to bowing down, which is you're not really doing anything that resembles a service in the Beis Hamikdash, I would say no. Emalo. I would say the Rav Sheshes doesn't go that far. Tzricha. So therefore, it's necessary. So just teach me the case of bowing down, and then I'll know the case. I'll know the others. Mishum da'avilei ma'isa, because he's at least performing an action. But then I would say where he declared, "This is my God," maybe that Rav Sheshes would not puzzle. So tzricha. And we'll hold it up here.